I help one person, I figure that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Hmm.
each person, each caregiver speaks to a different individual. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying? And
Hmm.
so we appreciate, you being willing to take the time. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are
Sure.
and who you're caring for? What is the situation? Let's
Hmm.
start there.
Okay. Kathy Plogman, and I care for my brother John, and he was diagnosed when he was 20. I think it was about 22, 21. He was a junior in college. It's not about his mental illness. It's about my brother. I do believe I would do this for a stranger, but I do it for my brother because I love him very much. And I started taking care of him when he was in Milwaukee. He was in an institution, and family members were not stepping up, so I knew I had to step up even more. And that's when I became power of finance and health. Um, and when I moved him to Fond du Lac, to a CBRF house, it was Franklin House, and I learned so much through them. And he was there for 9 years, so it was a wonderful facility. And but that's when I became his power of attorney, POA, because I knew I had to get more involved with his decision making. He wasn't making real good decisions. But in Fond du Lac, Andy in Milwaukee worked. In Milwaukee, he worked full time, but in Fond du Lac, we put him back to part time. And he worked for, it's called Brook Industries, and it's a shelter, uh,
Okay.
a shelter workshop. So he worked there for 9 years also, part time. Yeah, it was amazing. Then I'm glad I was power of attorney because things happen. And he had a physical breakdown, and he ended up in ICU in Fond du Lac. And I was in Green Bay then, and I knew I was going to move him to Green Bay, but I didn't want to move him that fast because he was still working and he still had friends, and I knew I could visit him in Fond du Lac and make decisions, through other means. But when I moved him to Green Bay, facility took him, and that's when I found out a lot, because I found out a lot of information that I could do through ADRC. And it was, I believe it was Brian and Jim, and also um, John Plackman. Yes. But there were the first week, they told me they could deal with his catheter and his diabetes. The first week I had him at Aurora, and because they didn't change his catheter right. The second week I had him in Aurora, did not change his catheter right. The third week I had, they called me. They said, he's, bleeding. And I said, well, call an ambulance. They said they would not call an ambulance. And then that's when I found out I could call an ambulance.
Okay.
Because that is scary when you're thinking about, calling a facility that is so professional, and you hope to God you're doing the right thing. And I thought,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to just do my gut feeling. I'm calling the ambulance. It was early in the morning. They took him there, and he was in the hospital for a week. Then there were other things. We had to get the state, after about a month and a half, we had to get the state involved, because with things going on that I just, my gut feeling said, they're not doing his meds right. Um, he was, he was depressed, and I'm sure because of the change, but it was, difficult. So we had a good 2 hour meeting, which was, perfect. And I gave him a chance, and then something else happened. And we had another meeting,
Mhm.
and they made promises. This facility made promises, and at first it was really good, and then they dropped the ball. And this is my brother, and I thought I've got to make sure he has the best life possible. And he started with we got him a walker, because he was not falling but tripping. And so we
Okay.
got him a walker. I mean, these are things that ADRC helped me with, and Lakeland Care District. I don't know if I can mention that, but Lakeland Care District helped me with. Um, but I've learned so much through all these experiences, which were scary because there were a couple that he could have really, not be here right now. And when I became his POA, he was in Fond du Lac. I was in Green Bay. I was trying to think about that this morning, how long I've been his POA. I would say about 5 years.
I'm curious, do you identify yourself? Do you identify yourself as a caregiver? Do you
Yeah.
see yourself
I
in
think I
that
was
role?
born a caregiver.
Okay.
I took care of my parents too. When John was in Milwaukee, I started bringing him to, we were in West Bend, and I started bringing him back and forth, maybe once a month, just to get him out of Milwaukee. But he worked in Milwaukee. He had friends in Milwaukee. He did well in Milwaukee. Um, it's just when the mental illness increased, because you have other things besides schizophrenia. You have bipolar. You have dementia, especially dementia. When that started, that's mainly when I became the power of attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And it was important that somebody stepped up. And I didn't want a stranger to step out.
Sure.
I wanted we have a big family. And I should mention this, Terry. When I decided to become bring him to Fond du Lac, it took me 2 years, and state representative helped me get in contact with the head of mental illness in Madison. He's no longer there, but his name was Dan Zimmerman. He's a wonderful man. But he told me that it wasn't going to be overnight. And I said, overnight? I'm his family member. I should be able to move him if I want to and bring him into a town that I think is good for him and find a facility that's good for him. And it took me 2 years. But, I should tell you, Terry, before I brought him to Fond du Lac, I took 16 weeks of family to family. And because I wanted to know about this disease,
Sure.
this mental illness, I wanted to know about his bipolar. I wanted to know about why he didn't have dementia until later on. But I wanted to know all that. And that was an eye opener, that family to family for NAMI. And then I also took your 6 weeks course here about caregiver.
The Powerful Tools
caregiving.
class.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was eye opener too. And I met a lot of nice people, and I met you.
Good.
It's just important to get educated. It really is important. My other family members don't want to, and that's fine. They don't have to. But I needed to have that in my life, especially when I was taking this responsibility on. Because
Sure.
this responsibility, I just can't leave him out on out by himself, making decisions that were not good.
And is this caregiver journey that you're on to your brother, is it what you expected it to be?
No.
Okay,
I didn't think I had to be. This is like stern, or not with him, but stern with other people. Like especially when I became power of attorney, I didn't think I had to be asking things that were just unnatural. People should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to step up and saying, I got to watch him. I got to watch those people that are taking care of him too, because they were hurt. Some were hurting him, and I had to stop that. I had to say, hey, this is not going to go on anymore. So
So a person who needs a caregiver definitely needs someone like you who can advocate for them.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Very much, Terry, very much.
So as caregivers, we all experience moments of joy with our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
So would you share one of those special moments that you have with your brother?
Yes. And it was, I think about it now, and it was when he was at the Franklin House. My daughter and I decided he loves football. We decided to take a trip to Ohio, Akron, Ohio, where the pro NFL places, the pro NFL, what do you call it? Thing is, I don't know what you call it. I forgot what you call it. It's the Hall of Fame. It's the Hall of Fame. And John was so excited. And we were only going to spend about 1 day going there, and then the day there, and then about 2, 3, maybe 4 days, I think it was. We were there, left the 4th day. We got there at 4 a.m. at the hotel, the place we were going to stay. And I knew I had to wake him up at 8. and give him food and his medicine. And we were laughing. We were just laughing. And John, I said, John, now I have to wake you up at 8, so you have to get up, and then you can go back to bed, but you have to get up and take your meds. And which he did. But we were just laughing. He still remembers that. I mean, he will always remember that. We will always remember that. We spent 2.5 hours at the Hall of Fame in Akron, Ohio, and I learned so much from my brother about football and about the Packers and about the Bears and how they got together. And 2.5 hours, and it was the best time. And my daughter had the best time ever. Well, he's my brother, and like the song says, that's all I've got is my brother.
Yeah.
I've got 2 other brothers, but he's the one that needed me the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's very lucky to have you. We should
Thank
all
you,
be
Terry.
so lucky.
Thank
So
you, Terry.
as a caregiver, what do you think is your greatest success?
I think at the time when he was working, and he did work in Milwaukee, but then he had to quit work because of his a friend told him to stop his meds, and he did. And I had to step in. I stepped in because no other family member would step in, so I stepped in, and that's when I became the power of finance and the power of health. But I would say when he came to Fond du Lac, and he worked for 9 years for half days. And I thought, with his illness and his diabetes and his bipolar, he didn't have dementia yet, so that was good. But all that, and he worked, and I was so proud of him. I really was. And I visited him at Brook Industries because they allowed me to come in a couple times, and I saw what he did, and how humbling. And Mercury Marine was the one who gave them most of their jobs.
Okay.
Marine and Fond du Lac. And I thought, what a wonderful thing if all the people that could work could, do work. Because my brother, when he came here to Green Bay, he said, okay, where am I going to work? And I said to my brother, I said, no, we're going to retire you. You're going to be in retirement. And he still says today, now am I retired? I said, yes, you're retired. Yeah.
Okay. What about your greatest challenge?
People that were not doing their job.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, that
And,
advocacy piece,
yes.
knowing what you wanted to see your brother
Yeah.
and the quality of life you wanted him
Yep.
to have, and making sure he got it.
Yes.
Awesome.
And I had to stand up for him. Oh boy.
Mhm.
Try to be a strong advocate for him.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So, how do you maintain? Now, I know you're
Sure.
married, you have adult
Yes.
children, you have
Yes.
grandchildren,
Yes.
you are helping homeschool during COVID.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
caring for your brother, you're wearing
Yes.
all these hats. How do you
Yes.
find balance? What does balance look like? What other things do you do to recharge your batteries?
Right now, it would be meditation.
Okay.
Meditation and the quiet and just taking deep breaths because of this COVID, and everything else that's going on. Taking deep breaths and say, it's not going to last forever. And my brother's health and his life is very important to me. I really, the doctors I have in place, I always ask them if they're patient, because I think patience is very important with this disease. And so he's got some really good doctors in place.
And so what would you how important is it for other caregivers to take care of themselves?
Very, very, very important. I'll do 2 varies, because if you get pooped, and I have been pooped, especially when I'm moving him, because I have to make sure he's in a good mindset, and I have to get the movers, and but you have to take care of yourself. You have to take time out for yourself. And Terry, that 6-week course, that taught me really a lot about that.
Good. So you would recommend all caregivers take powerful tools.
Yes, powerful
Make
tools.
the time for it, right?
Yes.
Because
yes. And I learned so much about you, about caregiving, from you, about caregiving, and it is important. And there are some people that can't do it and some people can. And I have
Yeah.
family members that can't do it, but I can. So I stepped up and said, okay, I'm going to do this. And it's been 13 years.
Wow,
13
it's a
years. Yeah.
long journey. It's a
Yeah.
long journey.
But I hope it's long. It's more years. I hope it
Yeah,
doesn't quit now,
okay.
because if it does quit now, I'll have to take somebody else on. The one thing, when my brother was in Milwaukee, at the Milwaukee institution, our father died. And that was very difficult for me to tell, because I call him every night and tell him, what's happening. Not a real sad
Right.
situation, but, try to make it informative. And then when he died, I took a prayer shawl and I took it to Milwaukee, and I wrapped him around the prayer shawl. And I told him, and we prayed. There's lots of things that you have to do with a person that you might not want to do, but things come
Sure.
up in life.
So it sounds like the ADRC has been helpful to you. It sounds like
Very.
NAMI has been helpful to you. What other supports have you found through your 13 years to be, a good resource?
Well, the Franklin House was a very good source, because I
Okay.
wanted to bring in vitamins for my brother, and they said, no, you can't do that unless you get doctor's permission. Doctors have been, psychiatrists have been. He has been so blessed with good doctors, good psychiatrists, and now a good place to live for the rest of his life.
Good.
He has been very blessed. It just, sometimes it takes a while, and sometimes it's quickly. It's different. It's not instant gratification, because you have another person to think about.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's not a 1 day, 1 week, 1 month,
No,
journey that you're on
no.
with him. Clearly, it's been over a decade.
Get people in your life that you trust, and organizations that you trust. I think that's important too. Because
Mhm.
if you don't trust that organization, or if you don't trust that nursing home, or if you don't trust those people, then you get your gut feeling. Go out and get more. Help and move them. I mean, you can move them. Yeah.
Do you have a message of hope or encouragement, wisdom to share with others who are on this caregiver journey?
Ask for help. Ask for help, and really, if you feel you're not getting the services or the help that you need, get somebody else involved.
So is there
Yes.
anything else, Kathy, that you would like to share, around your caregiver experience?
um I would love the person that you're taking care of very much. I would make sure you love them, and the best for them. You want to do the best for them, and and keep an open mind at things that can be done, or that you might have to close the door on, because we've had to close the door on a few things. But and try to make him the best day ever, with his
Mhm.
life, one day at a time.